What would you do if someone looked at you and decided you weren't worth their time? This isn't just a story about money. It's about respect, assumptions, and the moment one man turned the tables on an entire bank. If you believe in justice, karma, and treating people right, then don't blink, because the twist in this story will leave you speechless. And before we start, hit that subscribe button right now, because the world needs more stories that remind us. Never judge a book by its cover. It was a crisp, windy Monday morning in downtown Chicago, the kind of morning where polished businessmen rushed along the sidewalks, coffee cups in hand, and the metallic hum of car engines mixed with the faint sound of street performers. Inside the marble-floored lobby of the Riverside Financial Bank, the air smelled faintly of fresh espresso and expensive cologne. Every detail in this branch screamed luxury, from the glass-walled offices to the plush leather chairs reserved for exclusive clients. At precisely 9:05 a.m., the glass doors slid open and in walked Marcus Gray, a tall black man in his late 40s, his posture relaxed, his expression calm. He wore a plain gray hoodie, slightly faded jeans, and sneakers that had clearly seen better days. Slung over his shoulder was a worn leather backpack with frayed edges. There was no flashy watch, no silk tie, no obvious sign of wealth. He moved with an unhurried confidence, stepping up to the reception desk where Linda Carver, the senior branch manager, sat reviewing client files. Linda glanced up, scanning Marcus from head to toe in less than a second. In her mind, she'd already categorized him. Not the right kind of client for this branch. She gave a tight, polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Can I help you?" she asked in a voice that was professional but edged with impatience. Marcus replied evenly, "I'd like to discuss opening a corporate account and reviewing some investment options." Linda chuckled softly, the kind of laugh people give when they think you're being ridiculous. "Sir, this is a very busy branch. Corporate accounts here require pre-scheduled appointments, and we usually deal with serious clients." She let her words hang, her meaning obvious. "Perhaps you might try our community branch down the street. It's a little more your style." From the teller counter, a young employee smirked, exchanging a glance with a co-worker. Marcus stayed composed. "All right. Could I at least speak to someone in investments?" he asked. Linda sighed, glancing at the clock as if he was eating into her precious time. "Sir, we can't waste our resources unless you have the proper documentation and meet our corporate minimum balance requirements." "Do you even know what that minimum is?" she said with a smirk. Without waiting for an answer, she gestured subtly to the security guard. "Please assist this gentleman outside. We're expecting important clients." Marcus zipped up his backpack, gave the faintest smile, and said nothing. As he walked toward the exit, he pulled out his phone and sent a short text. They failed. The branch carried on as if nothing had happened. Linda returned to her paperwork, pleased with herself for keeping the lobby clear for real clients. Around 10:15 a.m., her desk phone rang, and her assistant picked it up. A moment later, the assistant's face went pale. "Linda, it's Mr. Ashford from corporate." The name alone made Linda sit up straighter and adjust her blazer. She snatched up the receiver, switching to her warmest, most polished tone. "Mr. Ashford, what a pleasant surprise to hear from you." But the voice on the other end wasn't warm at all. "Linda, I've just received a complaint and a confirmation that you turned away a priority investor this morning." Linda blinked, confused but still smiling. "I assure you, no such thing happened. We simply redirected a walk-in." "Who—" "That walk-in," Ashford interrupted sharply, "was Marcus Gray, founder and CEO of Gray Industries. Net worth $3.8 billion. He's in the process of selecting a new primary banking partner for several international projects. He visited a number of branches this morning to evaluate service, and yours failed spectacularly." Linda's smile faltered. Her mind was spinning. She had heard of Gray Industries. In fact, just last week, their acquisition of a Silicon Valley tech company for $2 billion had made headlines. She opened her mouth to explain, but Ashford's voice cut through. Marcus called me personally. He described how he was treated at your branch. And now he's considering pulling all existing Gray Industries accounts from this bank. That's over $1.2 billion in assets. For the first time in her career, Linda was speechless. I had no idea. That's the point, Ashford said coldly. You didn't care to find out. The call ended abruptly, leaving Linda staring at the receiver, her stomach twisted in dread. Less than an hour later, the bank's lobby doors opened again, but this time the atmosphere shifted instantly. Two sleek black SUVs pulled up outside, and from the first vehicle stepped a pair of suited security personnel. Moments later, Marcus emerged from the second SUV, now dressed in a tailored navy suit, crisp white shirt, and polished leather shoes. On his wrist gleamed a watch easily worth more than the branch's entire monthly rent. Walking beside him was Mr. Ashford himself, his expression unreadable. Every employee in the branch straightened up, their eyes widening in recognition of the man they had just dismissed hours earlier. Conversations hushed. Linda, who had been hovering near her desk, forced a smile that looked more like panic. Marcus didn't even glance at her as he addressed Ashford. "This is the lobby I visited this morning," he said, his voice calm, but carrying a weight that silenced the room. "I came here as myself, not as a CEO to see how your staff treats everyday people." Ashford folded his arms. "And?" Marcus's eyes scanned the room, briefly meeting Linda's before settling. Back on Ashford. "I was treated like I didn't belong, like I was wasting their time. What they didn't know was that I was here to move a $1 billion investment fund." A visible shiver went through the staff. Linda took a step forward, her voice trembling. "Mr. Gray, I had no idea." Marcus finally looked at her. "That's exactly the problem. You shouldn't need to know someone's bank balance to treat them with respect." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a slim folder, placing it on the counter. "This is my final decision." Linda hesitated, then opened the folder. Inside was a formal request to close all Gray Industries accounts with the bank, effective immediately. She looked up in shock, but Marcus had already turned away. By the following week, the financial world was buzzing. News spread quickly in banking circles. Gray Industries had moved $1.2 billion in assets to a competing bank. The rival institution's stock price jumped nearly overnight, while Riverside Financial saw a sharp decline in investor confidence. Behind closed doors, corporate held meetings to assess the damage. Linda's name came up repeatedly, and within a month, she was quietly removed from her position. Meanwhile, Marcus continued to expand his business empire, but he didn't let the experience go to waste. He began speaking at universities, community centers, and leadership conferences, sharing the story as a lesson in humility and human decency. "Never underestimate someone based on appearance," he told audiences. "Your next customer could change your life, or your company's future." Almost exactly 1 year later, the very same bank branch building went up for sale as part of a restructuring effort. Marcus bought it, in full, in cash, and transformed it into a financial literacy center for underprivileged youth. On opening day, the air was filled with laughter and energy as young students filed in to learn about saving, investing, and entrepreneurship. Marcus stood at the entrance, personally greeting each visitor with a handshake and a warm smile. The security guard, who had once escorted him out, now volunteered at the center, shaking his head with disbelief at how life had come full circle. In his opening speech, Marcus looked out at the crowd and said, "Respect is the most valuable currency there is, and it costs nothing to give." The room erupted in applause, but Marcus's eyes were calm, because for him the true victory wasn't in revenge, but in turning an insult into an opportunity for change.